Thanks to all of you for joining me here on Mom Squad. I'm Maureen Kyle, and this is a show dedicated to parenting and everything it takes to keep our families happy and healthy. And this time of year, healthy can be a challenge when it's too cold to go outside for most of the country. So if you're like me, it's a struggle to figure out how to keep the kids active indoors. But we have an expert to help with that. We're going to get her advice and activity ideas in just a minute. But first, let me introduce my co-host, Jenny Jordan, the person I go to all the time to be like, what are you doing at home to make sure the kids don't just run around the house? And have you been having a lot of running around the house, going crazy? Oh my gosh, going crazy,
stir crazy. Yeah. And I'm like, we just had Christmas. You have all these new toys. What is happening? But it's that energy that they need to get out. And it's like, Legos can only do for so long, you know?
Right. You bring up a great point because mine sat there the other day and they had like a little, you know, it was something ceramic and it was a painting kit. And I was like, oh good, this will take up an hour. And it was, no, 15 minutes and a sloppy paint job later, they're like, and they're buzzing. Yes. And it's like, what do we do to get that energy out? And I just also don't want them losing any of their, I know this sounds silly for like little kids, but you know, now my oldest is 10 and she's in sports and she's still doing practices and everything, but it's like, I don't want her to lose any of her cardiovascular strength or, you know, muscular strength that she earned during fall sports, you know, going into spring sports. Like this is a downtime for a lot of sports.
Well, think about it. When they hit high school, right, they're conditioning all year long for different sports. And as adults, we try to have workout routines that we should do. Right. I should do more. And, but then they're in this age where it's like, oh, cool, summertime. Yeah. They're outside. They're gone. Right. You're right. I don't have to worry about it ever because we're just at the pool. We're here. It's just natural exercise.
Right. Natural activity.
Yes. And then that just is natural loafing when it comes to being at home. I mean, it really is.
And believe me, there are times that your body needs to just sit and rest, but we know that, and we're talking little kids, but we know that you might have a preteen, a teen who is not on a team, not on a sports team, and you might need a little extra motivation. So I want to get to our interview. There's a woman who helps come up with programs specifically designed for kids. Amy Raineri is an exercise physiologist at Akron Children's Healthy Active Living Clinic. She and I discussed what kids need to be doing at home. So Amy, a lot of families are trying to figure out how to stay active, especially as the country gets hit with these cold temperatures. How do you think kids should be staying active in the winter?
Wintertime does bring challenges to many kids, but whether or not it's wintertime or during the hot months, those challenges can be all year round. Yeah. So whether they want to play inside or play outside, there's many different ways that they can be active.
Yeah. How many hours a day do you think? Because that's what I'm thinking of. Like we have some things to do inside, but sometimes that only takes like 5 minutes of their attention and then they're back to wanting that screen. How much time should we be aiming for when it comes to active minutes in a day?
Sure. Kids ought to be active at least an hour a day, but that hour doesn't have to be all at one time. It can be split up throughout the day, and the intensity levels that they're working at can also range between low to moderate to high intensity levels too.
Okay. My kids are really good at running around the house and getting the dog to chase them. That's their number one favorite activity, but then I know what that feels like. It kind of like drives some parents crazy where it's like, don't run around the house. So are there any exercises? I want you to help us think of some creative ways that we can achieve those like either low intensity all the way up to high intensity activities indoors.
Yeah, there's different ways that kids can get active, obviously using apps or doing in the clinic that I work in at Akron Children's Hospital. We have many ideas that I can give kids, whether or not they like apps or videos or gaming consoles that have active video games. There's lots of different ways, and the challenge is really what they like to do and what they're willing to do.
Do you have any favorite activities that you can find online or in an app or on YouTube or whatever?
Sure. A lot of the apps that we like to use are, if they're older kids, the Nike Training Club app is really good. It gives you a variety of workouts and the levels range. You can choose the parameters that you want, whether or not you have equipment or not have equipment at home, and whether or not you're a beginner or more advanced in working out. We also like the Sworkit app, and those are geared more towards younger kids. Many kids also use an app online called Go Noodle, and a lot of the schools use that. You might have heard it.
I've heard of it, yeah.
But you can get it at home too. And those videos are really quick, which the younger kids can tend to maybe enjoy a little bit more because it's not as long, and they like quick activities versus long activities.
Yeah, you brought up training, and let me ask you this, because I've seen some gyms will offer like tweens and going into teens, but as young as, I mean, I have friends that their kids are as young as like 8 or 10 that are going in and doing workouts that I would normally think are for adults. Is that okay? And is that safe? And like, what should we be thinking about there?
Absolutely. The old myth was if younger kids worked out really hard or worked out with weights, that would stunt their growth, but that's not the case. A lot of the times, as long as they're doing it properly, proper technique is really important, and as long as they have that in place, then they're okay to do that.
Okay, so like lifting weights, that's okay for kids?
Lifting weights as long as it's light enough that they can do it properly and do it for at least reps between 12 to 20.
Okay, cardio. It's funny, we have a bike at home. My girls, like even yesterday, the 5-year-old, she wanted to get on the bike. And I know that the company probably has some disclaimer like no one under the age of 18 or whatever, but they like to hop on. It's keeping them active. Like when it comes to cardio, what should we be thinking about for kids, and like how old, can they be on some of this exercise equipment?
Sure. Yeah, workout equipment pose a few threats with the younger kids. As long as they're interested and they want to try it out, if they can get on the bike and pedal, their little legs can reach the pedals, then I feel like that's okay. If they want to walk on treadmills, as long as you're close by and they're not cranking up the speed and flying off the back of it, then I feel like that parents are their role models. If you're working out and the kids are watching you work out, then that's important, because then they kind of realize that's just a part of your lifestyle, and hopes that they also will move into that lifestyle as they get older.
Yeah. Now, of course, we have stairs at home. Should I have the kids be like running up and do we do a stairs workout at home? Things like that, like where we can look around the house for ways to exercise.
Sure. We have different I have different workouts that I've created within the clinic. One that's an obstacle course that you can create in your house. Younger kids like to use cushions off the couch and play The Floor is Lava. You could also choose different moves to create in different rooms of the house, like jumping jacks or squats. Really a lot of the moves that those kids would do in gym class. You could also pull in the staircase, climb up and down the staircase into their obstacle course. We also have a game that I use often with kids. It's called the Name Challenge.
Okay.
And it's based on the alphabet, and each move of the alphabet has different moves.
Okay.
And they pull the letters out of their name, and that creates their little interval workout.
Oh, wow.
And then I also give them a pair of dice, and so they roll the dice, and that indicates how many reps of that move that they do.
Okay.
And then it's cool to throw in little rules that like everybody who's playing has a lucky number, and when they roll that lucky number, they don't get to do the exercise, but everybody else does.
Oh, how fun.
So there's different ways that you can be creative but also enjoy to do it, and I really recommend that all the parents get involved, or the caregivers, because that's really helpful too. When the kid's enjoying it, they often we'll do it.
Yeah, and it's time for us to, to be trying to achieve some of these resolutions, so to jump in on it too. Now we're talking workout routines, which I think is great, and we should definitely do, but when you mentioned like low intensity, just keeping them even active throughout the day, like what are some of the low intensity? I guess I'm trying to make my mom guilt go away of like, I feel guilty if we don't have to break a sweat, like we can just be off screens and moving, like how much movement and what is low intensity?
Yeah, low intensity is general movement. Really, it's not breaking a sweat. It's not creating you to be out of breath or sweaty, but really to just general movement. I feel like the key to that is, like you mentioned, keeping them off their screens. Younger kids in general will move and play and throughout the day if they're not locked into a screen.
So, I mean, even just helping with household chores, is that enough exercise, low intensity exercise? Like if you're telling a teenager like, hey, can you vacuum the floor or something, like that kind of motion and that kind of activity, that counts toward the 1 hour we should be reaching?
Absolutely. Chores around the house. If one of their chores is going out to get the mail after school or walking the dog down the block, those are all ways that can be included within that 1 hour of exercise.
Something we were going to talk about too is like the psychological effects too, because I feel like seasonal affective disorder can hit anybody. When you start to see the kids maybe be slumping and in a bad mood or something, is that an indication that maybe they're not being as active?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for everybody with adults alike because of the winter blues, and we don't get a lot of sunshine in Ohio, unfortunately. But it does help when, again, asking the kid what they want to do. There's also ways that they can be active out of the house, like jump parks, trampoline parks, mall walking. There's many different ways, too, that they can get out of the house and be active. But that can affect like their mental health as well too? Absolutely, absolutely. And being active has been proven to help kids that have anxiety or depression. Are there any exercises that you have seen in your work where if parent and child do them together, there's not just that exercise benefit, but you see them bond a little bit more? Well, when the parents are also getting involved, it makes it enjoyable a lot of the time, depending on the age group, obviously. But that alone helps them to realize, hey, this is just a part of what we do together, and not just making it a chore and that they have to do it. Yeah. Absolutely. Are there any other activities that you'd say that we haven't talked about that you would say we should be adding to our daily routine that you just like in general for a family, whether they're super active or even just mildly active, trying to work and exercise in the new year? Yeah, I feel like screen time is one of the largest barriers that we all deal with. And so trying to really control that with kids, placing controls on their screens. And then they learn to recognize, okay, now it's time to get up and do other stuff. That kind of gets them to be more active without really recognizing they're being more active, but also to just indicate that, okay, my time on the screens is done. I need to do other stuff. Yeah. Amy was obviously great and had some really great ideas there. And I don't know, keeping kids active for that long, we have to get creative. I mean, even though she says it doesn't have to be an hour of running.
I was so glad she said that because I feel like I'm always like a checklist person. It's like, okay, do they eat their fruits and, I tell the kids, no snacks till after you eat this. And, you need to do your reading before we go do this. So it's like, in a way, I want to be like, you need to get your exercise in before but it can be throughout the day and just making everyday activities or everything they do more active. Right. I loved her ideas for that stuff. Yeah. So we actually, at home, I wanted to test out some of the ones that she mentioned. And I've heard of the alphabet workouts before for adults. Like I've heard I've seen some printed out. I've heard you can come up with your own. So
I wanted my kids to try it.
Yeah.
So I had my 10-year-old. She listed the alphabet. So I had her sit down with a piece of paper. I told her to list A through Z on the side of a sheet of paper. And then I told her to come up with some of the workouts or some of the exercises and the amount. So we went through with I said, you can do 2 sit-ups, you can do 3. She knew burpees, she knew planks just from some of the sports she's doing. So take a look at how it all turned out. All right, so what kind of exercises did you put on there?
I put 2 push-ups, 10 jumping jacks, 5 sit-ups, a water break, 3 squats, 3 burpees, 30-second wall sits, and 10-second plank.
Okay, so do you know how to play the game we're about to play?
No.
You didn't know what I was doing with the alphabet?
Yeah, no.
Okay, so what we're gonna do, Millie, you're in it too, come here.
Yay!
We're gonna spell your name. And whatever you wrote next to that letter, you're gonna have to do.
I know that, I know it.
You start with S.
5 sit-ups.
5 sit-ups.
No, so we can
C.
5 sit-ups.
Again? Okay.
A, 2 push-ups.
Let's go.
And 3 squats.
Do you know how to do squats?
Yes.
Okay, not as far down.
Water break.
What? For L?
Yes.
That means you get 2 water breaks?
Yes. 2 push-ups. And 1 squat. Can I get my water break?
Yeah, go ahead. Okay, now we're gonna spell a different word. Pick the first word that comes to your mind.
Pizza.
Pizza, all right, spell pizza. So what do you think?
Good.
Was it fun?
Yeah.
Was it a good way to get some exercise?
Yeah.
So clearly my kids need to work on their form. I didn't realize they didn't know how to do sit-ups correctly, push-ups. I mean, they're young.
It may have been a new workout. They may have created something there.
Right?
I know. Some new moves I've never seen before.
Especially my 5-year-old. But they were excited about it. And this is something like Amy was talking about. Maybe we all try. I was obviously running video, but I mean, if we're stir crazy at home, maybe I jump in and do the 5 sit-ups with them and spell my name, or, as you saw at the end there, I had Scarlett try, I said, pick any word off the top of your head. And she said pizza. And so she, we tried some other words too.
Right. That might be a good one. Like before you have a snack, spell snack and do your words,
yeah.
right?
Yes.
I love that. No, I think that's really neat. I loved how, whenever they were saying about doing stuff, it's a lot about what you're modeling. Mm-hmm. So doing it with them, because that's what we want too, right? Like we want an active lifestyle. So doing this stuff with them, I know for me, my kids love the YouTube when we do the yoga and me. Mm-hmm. And I think it's because they like to climb on top of me and stuff. But it is time that we do together, which is also so important too,
right. And I think some of those apps, those channels that even Amy talked about, and I had my kids do cosmic yoga. I know everybody probably knows about this, through the pandemic when we were all stuck inside, we were big on cosmic yoga. They still ask for it, and it's funny how it's almost like tricking them into thinking that they're getting screen time.
Yes,
okay, you can go on YouTube.
Right.
You can pick the yoga theme that you want. Harry Potter's always the #1 choice.
Oh, yeah.
There was a My Little Pony that they went for, but they want to do it because they think they're fooling me. I'll do this YouTube. I can go on YouTube. I'm into it. So it's almost like I'm tricking them and they think they're tricking me.
It's perfect. It's a win-win then.
Yeah.
Well, and I laugh because sometimes when my kids do get screen time and they're they're laying on their head while they're watching it, or my daughter did a cartwheel over her iPad the other day, and I was like, you can do your cartwheels without that, but I mean, and those are the kind of apps that the technology is so great for. We always say, oh, you hear so much, no screen time, and watch how much. And I understand that. I hear the studies. We talk a lot about it here on Mom Squad, but it's so nice to see that all of that stuff can be used for good.
Right.
There are fitness apps, learning apps. It's just making sure that your kids are getting the right thing.
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't know, I love that.
Yeah, and as you saw, we talked about even like there are places that are offering workouts like at a gym catered to kids. Now, something I've encountered too is, my 10-year-old who thinks that she's 25.
Yes.
She's asked me, can I go to a yoga class with you? And then I'm sure if you go to like a yoga class or a workout class, a lot of times they don't allow kids to take the class, but I've found the really small studios, like a couple times, I'm a Girl Scout leader for one of my daughters, and I set up like a yoga class with a friend of mine who owns a studio, and it's a smaller studio, and she set it up, just for a mommy and me yoga class. But then I asked her, like, do you let tweens come in and do yoga? She says it depends on the kid. Like if you know that your kid is going to be able to follow the workout and not be distracting and not run around, then she said, yeah, bring her. Like if she's going to follow the moves and try it, and I pay for her and me, then why not?
Right.
And so I don't know, what your relationship is with maybe your teen, but it's always one of those things where it's like, if you're paying, what teen's not going to want to go to a yoga class? Maybe that's some bonding time and finding the right studio that will allow those things depending on the age. I have stumbled across a few of those.
And that's just created such a healthy lifestyle for them. It's just, we want to try to make that part of our life, right? And so I love that. And I'll tell you what, if you're a business out there is an opportunity. Do the yoga me. Do the gym time with your kid. I mean, obviously I understand weight machines, things like that, but create these things where parents can go with their kids. During a little bit after, like when we were pandemic, everything was opening up. I had this fantastic girl who was a trainer, and she did something with like a local Gymboree, like there's all different ones where they have, and it was the moms worked out in the middle and the kids played around. And like they had toys and stuff, and it was such a great thing because maybe I had to stop from my plank to, take them to the bathroom or grab them water or something. But then a lot of times they would like come over and start doing what we were doing. Or they'd say, oh, I can't wait to go to exercise class. And really they were getting exercise too because they're running around us,
Right.
And it was such a good experience because I feel like as a mom, sometimes I get mom guilt. Everyone gets mom guilt, right? But like, finding that time to work out, you're like, I'm so busy. How do I even have time to work that into my schedule? If it's something you can do together, it's even better.
And it's funny, I didn't even mention that I had them do this workout at home during a cold day. We didn't have a snow day, but it was cold enough that they shut down schools. So they were getting stir crazy anyway. And then I showed you, in the morning when we're like, oh gosh, all right, kids are gonna be home all day. A gymnastics studio that we don't even go to anymore offered up, like, luckily I'm still on the email list, and they said, hey, open gym from 9 to noon, bring your kids, whatever. So on those days where maybe, surprise, they're home from school because of the weather that we've been getting across the country lately, I would look at those, get on those email lists if it's worth it to you, like find those kids' gymnastic studios or whatever and see what kind of programs that they offer for
trampoline
parks. Like on a cold day or a snow day, are there places that we can go have them run around?
And makes it extra special.
I
love that.
You know what's funny too? And I said something during our morning show, during the news, and I said, oh gosh, I got to get out and walk the dog in this cold, and I have to bundle up and everything. So if you're a dog mom, somebody sent me a message saying, look for like the Home Depots and the big box stores that allow dogs to come in, and then you can walk around some of those big box stores.
That's a great idea. And you know what? Actually, too, there was, where I live, they just opened this almost like a gym for dogs where you can bring them and it's indoors, and it's not like a drop them off kind of like daycare type of thing, but it's like, oh, come for an hour and like $10-15. So it wasn't like expensive. And I thought, oh my gosh, my kids would love, and it was a private one too, which was nice because then my kids could come and run around with the dog. Everybody many ones.
I know.
Yes.
So, hey, business idea for you out there.
Yes, yes.
Open up a indoor dog park. Gosh, why didn't I think of that?
I know, right?
You might not see me next week. I will be at my dog park. But all of these ideas, so great. Obviously, you can take whatever you need. Amy shared some workouts that you can try at home with your kids. We're going to have those posted. We'll get them posted in the Mom Squad with Maureen Kyle Facebook page. They're PDFs, they're her favorite apps, and things that you can do. So a lot of resources if you're thinking, okay, which ones are your favorite? And if you're watching us on YouTube, we'll post them in the comments so that you have access to them, because it was great that she shared those. And I'm always looking for those apps that I don't know about, and maybe I'm late to the game on or whatever.
I know. I feel like, well, there's just a whole world of apps where I'm like, what are the good ones? And then you download one and maybe then you got to pay later. And I'm like, wait. You said it was free. So these ones, all very good. Very good. So we need the experts for that.
I know. All right, Jenny, good luck keeping them busy over the winter. Thanks for being my co-host today. Yes. And thanks to all of you for joining us this morning. We'll see you right back here next time.